All right, hello. My name is Uncle Jay. Welcome to the video. Tonight we are debuting a brand new series. I like to call it Clown Critic. We are going to be here with what I also like to call the Doughnut of Destiny. And what the Doughnut of Destiny does is it spins really fast, and whatever the Doughnut of Destiny lands on is exactly the video that we're going to make. I have all kinds of subjects, exactly 100, in fact, to choose from. They could range from all kinds of different artists, mostly different genres of performance art, different film directors, all kinds of things that I'm interested in, a couple of animes here and there. But anyway, let's just get down to the first ever spin of the Doughnut of Destiny on the very first episode of Clown Critic. I always found it really strange when people talk about Jaws like it's not a horror movie. There's, like people call it the first ever summer blockbuster. And yeah, it was on like a box office level. And, I guess like with the beach themes, people really associate it with like this summer imagery and stuff like that. So like it's easy to look at that and be like, this is the first summer blockbuster. But I think it's one of the greatest horror movies of all time, like through and through, like a genre film horror movie. Look no further than the very opening scene. That is a slasher film 101. Like, you have the flirtatious couple going off away from the group. You have like the naked girl going out to the water, which evokes a lot of vulnerability, which, that's like filmmaking 101. The shower scene from Psycho is meant to like evoke the most vulnerability in a scene. But this is just like that times 10. Like, you're not just in a shower, now you're out in the open. Now it's not claustrophobia, but agoraphobia? No, I don't know. Well, I guess there is something pretty agoraphobic about being in the ocean. So that does make sense. But I wonder if there's a term specifically for like being out in the open water, because that's what this film is so good at, and what the first scene is so good at. It's a masterclass in vulnerability. You also get the slasher POV, which I know like that was a big thing in the production of the movie, that like the shark kept breaking down, and so Spielberg or somebody on the set elected to say, hey, what if we do from the shark's POV? And then that ended up being something used in slasher films like from now on. Like don't forget, Jaws came out like 2 years before Halloween, right? Wasn't Jaws 1975, and then wasn't Halloween 1970? Halloween movie 1978, yes. So that's like 3 years later. Anyway, something else I just want to briefly touch on that I think is mildly hilarious. I just love pointing this little detail out. Watch Brody here as he comes running down the dock to check on his son, and watch what he does. He just kind of taps that guy's ass a little bit. You see that? See that? Rewind that and play that. Enhance. See that? He just kind of he just taps him. Another scene I just want to briefly touch on is one that absolutely traumatized me as a child. And that's the masterful jump scare scene where Hopper is investigating the boat that sunk, and he finds the corpse of one of the fishermen missing an eye floating towards him out of this hole in the boat. And there were so many times when I was a little kid where I would be I'd get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, and I'd be afraid to leave the bathroom. Like, I would just stay in the bathroom with the lights. I would just stay in the bathroom with the lights on. And, because I knew that one-eyed dead guy was just floating outside the hallway waiting for me to look at him. And it freaked me out. Finally, for the Jaws segment, I have to talk about what I think is the scariest thing in the movie altogether. We've touched on some very genre-specific things, techniques that Spielberg used that are still being used today, and that kind of thing. But I want to talk about the thing that made Jaws memorable outside of just the shark. Like, the shark itself is a horrifying monster, but I would argue it's not the scariest character in Jaws.
I'll never put on a life jacket again. So 1,100 men went in the war. 316 men come out. The sharks took the rest June the 29th, 1945. Anyway, we delivered the bomb.
What is there to say about Captain Quint that hasn't already been said before? He's easily one of the greatest film characters of all time, right up there with Heath Ledger's Joker and Shrek. What I think makes him so terrifying, though, is that we already have this movie that's got this giant shark, this monster, this 25-foot human-eating machine. But that really only works in short bursts. The best shots of the shark are the ones where you hardly see it. Whereas Quint is the horror manifest. He is what the monster turns a man into. This man that's dedicated his life to just killing monsters. A character people rightly compare him to a lot is Captain Ahab from Herman Melville's Moby Dick, but I actually think he has a lot more in common with Van Helsing from Dracula. The way Moby Dick works is Captain Ahab is obsessed with this one singular whale, this one monster that he spends his life pursuing. Whereas Van Helsing is more like this professional vampire hunter. Like he's this master of his craft that's dedicated his life to exterminating this species. And I think that fits Quint a little bit better. Ahab is, like, Quint is certainly rough around the edges. Ahab is just outright insane and hard to, get along with and even work for. Quint has his moments of humanity, where he bonds with the other characters. But he is ultimately consumed by vengeance, and, consumed by the shark, which I think is kind of a fitting end for him, because how else would he have lived? There really was no other way his story could have ended other than going out doing what he loved, killing the monster until one monster eventually kills him. But he doesn't have this long-standing history with Bruce the shark the way that Captain Ahab does with Moby Dick. It's more like this chance encounter with your ultimate foe, the way Helsing and Dracula are usually paired up.
Oh, Mr. Arnold.
I mean, come on, do I really even need to say anything? While Jurassic Park is kind of up there with Jaws, I think, as these blockbuster movies that are nobody wants to call them horror movies because they mean so much more to people than what an average horror movie experience does. Jurassic Park is very whimsical at times, despite it being about, these giant carnivorous lizards that are going to eat children. Something that the movie is really good at is establishing danger. because what a ridiculous situation these characters are in. I mean, it's like, it's dinosaurs. It's so ridiculous, but we love it. Like, in the movie takes it completely seriously. But it's like all of these like it's like they were asking what could go wrong in every scene, and it does go wrong that way. And then they introduce new types of dinosaurs, and it's one of the most like fundamentally like science fiction. Like, once you buy into this, of course it's gonna be dangerous. Like, it's so like, it's terrifying, and it sinks you in, but at the same time, like, this is such an impossible horror that, like, the way it's effective is the way you feel for the really charismatic characters. You don't want them to get hurt. Something else Jurassic Park is kind of known for is it's kind of a bit of a feminist movie. Or at least it explores, like, themes of femininity and nature. Like how the dinosaurs are all bred to be female, but through, life finding a way that they're able to reproduce and, become a greater number than the humans can contain. There's also this interesting kind of dynamic with Laura Dern's character, how she's really the hero taking action, while Jeff Goldblum is the damsel in distress, spending most of the movie on his back. But I don't think we'd have it any other way.
Oh, Christ.
Well, now we've talked about killer sharks and dinosaurs coming back to life. I think it's time we hone in on a more serious, mature, realistic type of horror, and that's simply the horror of our fellow man, our fellow human beings, and the things we're capable of doing to each other. Schindler's List is a great example of that. It's probably, it has to be one of the greatest, like, Holocaust films of all time. Like, Spielberg is obviously a director of Jewish heritage. It's obviously a very personal time in history for any Jewish person, much less someone with the means to retell the story in such an impactful way. And I think all of that horror and cruelty and disappointment in your fellow man is all embodied perfectly in the character of Amon Goth, probably the most pathetic man in all of cinema, and also one of the most terrifying. Well, that's it for now. That's the first episode of Clown Critic. Those are my thoughts on Steven Spielberg and some of the work he's done for horror. Obviously, there's a lot more examples out there, like Gremlins and some of the other things he's produced. But this has been kind of a bit of an experiment. If you guys want more long-form essays, you guys want to hear my thoughts on other random topics, please stay tuned. I'm going to be spinning that wheel, that Doughnut of Destiny. And it's going to be badass.